Hello. Welcome to my channel, please. If you're new in my channel, kindly subscribe, like, and click on the notification bell for more videos on this day. The poison was already spreading through his veins when tiny hands pressed against his chest. His vision blurred as he looked up at the little girl kneeling beside him on the cold marble floor, her bright blue eyes glowing like twin stars in the darkness. He tried to speak, tried to warn her to run away, but his tongue felt thick and useless. The girl didn't move. Instead, golden light began pouring from her palms, warm and brilliant, flowing into his dying body like liquid sunshine. The burning agony in his chest eased. His gasping breaths steadied. But as the light faded and his eyes focused on her face, really focused for the first time, something impossible clicked into place. Those eyes. That small nose. The way her mouth curved when she concentrated. He knew that face. He knew it because he'd seen it staring back at him from his own mirror 30 years ago. The realization hit him harder than the poison ever could. But before he could say a word, before he could ask the question that was tearing through his mind, footsteps echoed through the mansion. Heavy. Multiple. Running toward them. The girl's head snapped toward the sound, her small body tensing like a rabbit hearing wolves. She looked back at him one more time, confusion and fear mixing in those impossibly familiar eyes, and then she vanished into the shadows between the marble columns. He was left alone on the floor, alive but drowning in questions that had no answers. Who was she? Where did she come from? And why did looking at her feel like staring at a ghost of himself? Let me take you back to where this all began, 3 days before everything changed forever. Lily Martinez was 7 years old and she'd never belonged anywhere in her entire life. Not at the group home where the older kids took her toys. Not at the school where everyone had parents to pick them up. Not even in her own skin sometimes, especially when the weird thing happened. The weird thing was what she called it when her hands got warm and tingly and started glowing. It didn't happen often. Usually only when she was really scared or really sad or when someone nearby was hurt. The first time it happened, she'd been 5 years old and another kid at the group home had fallen off the swing set. His arm bent in a way arms shouldn't bend and he was screaming and crying and Lily ran over without thinking. She put her hands on his arm and then everything got bright and warm and when the light faded his arm was fine. Completely fine. Like nothing had ever been wrong with it. The caretakers didn't believe him when he said Lily fixed it. They said he must have just gotten scared over nothing. Lily learned that day to keep the weird things secret. She learned that being different was dangerous. So she kept her head down and her hands to herself and tried very hard to be invisible. Most days it worked. But being invisible is lonely. Lily spent her afternoon sitting on the fire escape outside the group home watching the city move below her. She watched families walking together holding hands. She watched parents pushing strollers and buying ice cream for their kids and laughing at jokes she couldn't hear. She wondered what it felt like to belong to someone. She wondered if her real parents ever thought about her. Sometimes at night she made up stories about them. Maybe her mom was a famous singer who had to give her up to protect her from dangerous fans. Maybe her dad was a secret agent on important missions. Maybe they searched for her every single day but just couldn't find her. The stories helped the loneliness hurt a little less. But deep down Lily knew the truth. People who wanted you didn't lose you. On Tuesday afternoon, Lily was doing what she did every Tuesday after school. She walked the long way home, taking the route through downtown that passed by all the fancy stores and restaurants. She liked looking in the windows at the beautiful things she'd never be able to buy, dresses that sparkled like stars, toys that probably cost more than everything she owned combined. But her favorite part of the walk was the big fountain in City Plaza. The fountain had marble edges and crystal clear water, and it sparkled in the sunlight like something from a fairy tale. Families threw pennies in and made wishes. Lily never had pennies to throw, but she made wishes anyway. She was standing at the fountain making her usual wish, the same one she made every single day, when she heard the yelling. At first she thought maybe it was just people playing or having fun. But then she heard the fear in the voices, the panic. She turned around and saw a crowd gathering near the big glass building at the edge of the plaza. The building had gold letters across the front that spelled out something she couldn't quite read from where she stood. People were pointing up at the sky. No, not the sky. At the building. At the 10th floor, where smoke was starting to pour from a window, Lily's heart started pounding. She knew she should walk away. She knew getting involved was dangerous. But her feet carried her forward anyway, pulled by something she didn't understand. She pushed through the crowd of adults, so small that nobody even noticed her slipping between them. The building's front doors burst open, and people came rushing out. Some were coughing, some were crying, some were talking frantically on their phones. And then Lily saw him. The man stumbled through the doors and immediately collapsed onto the marble steps. He was wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than a car. His dark hair had gray at the temples. He looked like he was maybe 40 years old, but it was hard to tell because his face was twisted in pain. He clutched his chest and gasped for air like a fish drowning in oxygen. Nobody stopped to help him. Everyone was too busy running away from the building or calling for help or taking videos on their phones. But Lily saw him. She always saw the people everyone else ignored. Her hands started tingling. That familiar warmth spread through her palms. No, she thought. Not here. Not in front of all these people. But the man's lips were turning blue. His eyes were rolling back. He was dying right there on those marble steps and nobody was doing anything. Lily made a choice. She ran to him and dropped to her knees. Up close, she could see that his eyes were blue, just like hers. She could see the fear in them, the confusion. He tried to say something, but only a choking sound came out. Lily pressed her small hands against his chest and let the weird thing happen. Golden light exploded from her palms. It was brighter than it had ever been before, so bright that it hurt to look at. The light flowed into the man's body like water soaking into sand. She could feel his heartbeat under her hands, fast and irregular and wrong. She could feel the poison burning through his blood. The weird thing knew what to do even if Lily didn't. The light chased the poison, caught it, neutralized it. The man's heartbeat steadied. His breathing deepened. The blue faded from his lips. And then something else happened. Something that had never happened before. As the light faded, Lily felt a connection snap into place between them, like an invisible thread suddenly pulled tight. She felt his confusion become her confusion, his fear become her fear, and underneath it all, something else. Something that felt like recognition even though she'd never seen this man before in her life. The man's eyes focused on her face, really looked at her, and his expression changed from pain to shock to something Lily couldn't identify, something that looked almost like grief. He reached up with a shaking hand like he was going to touch her face. But then sirens wailed in the distance. Police. Ambulance. Fire trucks. The sounds got closer and closer and the crowd pressed in tighter. Someone grabbed Lily's shoulder, a security guard. "Kid, you need to get back. It's not safe here." Lily looked at the man one more time. Those blue eyes stared at her like he was trying to memorize her face, like he was seeing a ghost. She didn't understand the look, didn't understand the feeling in her chest. But the guard was pulling her away and more people were rushing forward, and then she couldn't see the man anymore. She slipped away into the crowd like she always did. Invisible again. Just another kid nobody noticed. But as she ran back toward the group home, her hands still tingling with leftover warmth, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something huge had just happened. Something that was going to change everything. She just didn't know what yet. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She lay in her narrow bed in the room she shared with 3 other girls and stared at the ceiling. Her hands still felt warm. The weird thing had never lasted this long before. Usually the tingling faded after a few minutes. But it had been hours and she could still feel it. Could still feel that invisible thread connecting her to the man she'd saved. She closed her eyes and tried to remember his face. Those blue eyes. That expression when he looked at her. Why had he looked at her like that? Like he knew her? She'd never seen him before. She was sure of it. She would have remembered. Across the room, one of the other girls mumbled something in her sleep. The old radiator clanked and hissed. Outside, a car alarm went off and someone yelled at it to shut up. Normal sounds. Normal night. But nothing felt normal anymore. Finally, around midnight, Lily gave up on sleep. She climbed out of bed and padded across the cold floor to the window. She pressed her face against the glass and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there was the man she'd saved. Was he wondering about her too? Was he trying to figure out what happened? The thought scared her. If people knew what she could do, bad things would happen. She'd seen enough movies to know that kids with powers got taken away, got locked up, got studied like lab rats. She should have let him die. The thought came unbidden and made her feel sick. No, she could never do that. Could never watch someone suffer and just walk away. It wasn't who she was. But she needed to be more careful. Needed to make sure nobody found her. Tomorrow she would take a different route home. Would avoid that part of downtown. Would stay invisible. Everything would go back to normal. She was sure of it. Lily didn't know that normal was already gone forever. She didn't know that at that exact moment, the man she'd saved was sitting in his penthouse apartment 3 miles away, staring at a photograph. She didn't know that her face matched the computer-aged image he'd been looking at for the past 7 years. She didn't know that his hands were shaking as he picked up his phone. She didn't know that her entire life was about to be turned upside down. And she definitely didn't know that the poison that almost killed him wasn't an accident. Someone wanted him dead. And now that she'd saved him, that someone was going to come looking for answers. The hunter was already on their trail. 3 days passed and Lily almost convinced herself she'd imagined the whole thing. Almost. The news talked about nothing else. An attempted murder at Kingston Enterprises. Poison gas released into the executive floor. The company's CEO, Theodore Kingston, lucky to be alive. Lily watched the coverage on the old television in the group home's common room. She studied the man's face, the same one she'd seen up close. Theodore Kingston. One of the richest men in America. Someone had tried to kill him and nobody knew who or why. The reporters talked about business rivals and corporate espionage and revenge. They talked about how he'd miraculously survived despite being exposed to enough poison to kill 5 men. But nobody talked about the little girl who'd saved him. Nobody mentioned the golden light. Either nobody had seen it through all the chaos and smoke, or they'd convinced themselves they imagined it. Lily felt relieved. Maybe she really was safe. Maybe she could go back to being invisible. She was wrong. Friday evening, she was walking back from the corner store where she'd bought a candy bar with the dollar she'd found on the street. The sun was setting, and the shadows were getting long. She was humming to herself and thinking about absolutely nothing when she felt it. The sensation of being watched. She stopped walking. The street was mostly empty. A few cars passing by. An old woman sweeping her stoop. Nothing unusual. But Lily's hands started tingling. Not the warm, healing tingle. Something else. Something that felt like warning. She turned around and her heart stopped. A black car sat at the curb half a block behind her. The windows were tinted, but she could feel eyes on her from inside. Watching. Studying. The car had been following her. She didn't know how she knew, but she knew. Lily did what any smart 7-year-old would do. She ran. Her backpack bounced against her shoulders. Her shoes slapped against the sidewalk. She heard the car engine roar to life behind her. Heard tires squeal. She ducked into an alley between 2 buildings, jumped over a puddle, dodged a dumpster. The alley came out onto another street and she kept running, her lungs burning, her legs aching. She risked a glance back. The car had turned onto the street. It was getting closer. There was nowhere to hide. Nowhere to go. And then a hand grabbed her arm and pulled her sideways into a doorway. Lily yelped and tried to pull away, but the grip was firm. She looked up expecting to see a stranger. Instead, she saw him. Theodore Kingston. He was wearing jeans and a jacket instead of a suit. He looked tired. Scared. But his blue eyes were the same ones she remembered. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm not going to hurt you, but we need to hide. Now." The black car cruised past slowly. Hunting. Theodore pulled Lily deeper into the doorway, shielding her with his body. They stood frozen, barely breathing, until the car disappeared around the corner. "Who are they?" Lily whispered. "The same people who tried to kill me." Theodore looked down at her, and his expression softened. "We need to talk, but not here." Is there somewhere safe we can go? Lily's mind raced. Safe? Nowhere was safe if people were hunting them. But she thought of the abandoned building 3 blocks over, the one where she sometimes went to be alone. Follow me, she said. They ran through the darkening streets, two strangers connected by impossible circumstances. Theodore kept looking over his shoulder. Lily's hands wouldn't stop tingling. Finally, they reached the abandoned building. It used to be a library before it closed down 5 years ago. The windows were boarded up and the door was locked, but Lily knew about the loose board in the back. She squeezed through and Theodore followed, barely fitting through the gap. Inside it was dusty and dim. Old books still lined some of the shelves. Lily led him to the children's section where she'd made a little nest of pillows from the reading corner. Okay, she said, turning to face him. Start talking. Theodore sat down heavily on one of the old pillows. He looked at her for a long moment and Lily saw a dozen different emotions flash across his face. Pain, confusion, hope, fear. What's your name? He asked quietly. Lily. Lily Martinez. Lily, he repeated, like he was tasting the word. How old are you? 7. Why does it matter? It matters, Theodore said. He ran his hands through his hair. God, it matters more than you know. Lily, 3 days ago you saved my life. Do you remember? She nodded. The weird thing happened. I'm sorry. I couldn't just let you die. The weird thing? That's what I call it. When my hands glow and I can fix people. It's happened before, but never like that. Never so strong. Theodore leaned forward. How long have you been able to do this? Since I was little? Maybe 5? I don't know exactly. And who takes care of you? Where are your parents? The question hit like a punch. I don't have parents. I live at Riverside Group Home, have my whole life. I'm a foster kid. Something in Theodore's face cracked open. He pressed his hand to his mouth and for a second Lily thought he might cry. Theodore? What's wrong? I need to show you something, he said. He pulled out his phone and tapped at the screen. Then he turned it toward her. On the screen was a photograph. A baby with bright blue eyes and a tiny nose. A baby that looked a lot like Lily imagined she looked when she was little. Who is that? Lily asked. Her name was Emma, Theodore said softly. She was my daughter. 7.5 years ago she was kidnapped from the hospital where she was born. The police searched for years but never found any trace of her. Eventually they declared the case cold. They said she was probably dead. Lily's chest felt tight. Why are you showing me this? Theodore pulled up another image. This one was a computer rendering. The same baby's face aged up. Made to show what she might look like at 7 years old. Lily stared at the image, at the blue eyes, the small nose, the shape of the face. It looked like her. It looked exactly like her. No, she whispered. I need to run a DNA test to be sure, Theodore said. His voice was shaking. But Lily, I think Emma is alive. I think Emma has been alive this whole time. And I think you might be her. Lily felt the world tilt sideways. The dusty library spun around her, and she had to sit down hard on the floor before her legs gave out. Theodore was still talking, but his words sounded like they were coming from underwater. Distant. Muffled. Impossible. I know this is a lot, he was saying. I know it sounds crazy. But when you saved me and I looked at your face, it was like being hit by lightning. You have your mother's eyes. My nose. The way you tilt your head when you're thinking, that's exactly what I do. And then there are your abilities. Your mother, she had something similar. Not exactly the same, but close. She could sense emotions, feel what other people were feeling. We thought it was just intuition until things started happening that couldn't be explained any other way. Lily's hands were shaking. She pressed them against the cold floor, trying to ground herself. This isn't real. This can't be real. You're just some rich guy who got poisoned and now you're confused. You're seeing things that aren't there because you want them to be there. Maybe, Theodore admitted. That's why we need the DNA test, to know for sure. But Lily, everything fits. The timing, your age, your appearance, your abilities that had to come from somewhere. You said you've been at Riverside your whole life. Do you know anything about how you got there? Lily shook her head slowly. Mrs. Henderson, she runs the place. She said I was dropped off when I was a few days old. No note, no information. Just a baby in a basket like something from a fairy tale. The police tried to find my parents, but nobody ever came forward. After a while, I just became part of the system. Theodore's jaw clenched. Someone took you from the hospital, changed your name, left you at that group home. They made sure you disappeared so completely that nobody could ever find you. But why? Why would someone do that? Because of me, Theodore said bitterly. Because of what I built. Kingston Enterprises is worth billions. There are people who would do anything to destroy me, to hurt me. Taking my child would be the cruelest way to do that. Lily's mind was racing, trying to catch up with everything he was saying. A daughter. Kidnapped. Hidden for 7 years. It sounded like something from one of those dramatic movies they sometimes watched at the group home. It couldn't be her life. Could it? But then she remembered the feeling when she healed him. That connection. That sense of recognition. Like two puzzle pieces that had been separated finally sliding back together. Even if it's true, Lily said quietly. Even if I am your daughter. What does that change? The people who took me, if they tried to kill you, they're still out there. They saw me save you. That black car was following me. We're both in danger now. Theodore nodded grimly. Which is why we can't stay here. I have a safe house outside the city. Somewhere they won't think to look. We can go there, run the DNA test, figure out our next move. But we need to leave tonight. Now. Lily thought about the group home. Her narrow bed. Her few belongings stuffed in a backpack. The other kids who barely knew her name. Nobody will even notice I'm gone, she said. The sadness in her voice made Theodore's expression soften. I would have noticed. If I'd known you were alive, I would have torn the world apart looking for you. Every single day for 7 years, I've wondered what happened to my daughter. I've imagined finding her 1,000 different ways. But I never imagined this. I never imagined she'd be the one to save me. Something warm bloomed in Lily's chest. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. But hope was scary. Hope could be crushed. What if the test says I'm not her, not your Emma? Then I'll still help you, Theodore said firmly. You saved my life. You're a little girl being hunted by dangerous people. Either way, I'm not leaving you alone in this. Lily studied his face, looking for lies, looking for tricks. But all she saw was sincerity, and exhaustion, and something that looked like desperate hope. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Let's go to your safe house. They left the abandoned library through the back entrance. The streets were darker now, full of shadows that could hide anything. Theodore kept Lily close, one hand on her shoulder, constantly scanning for threats. They walked 6 blocks to where he'd left his car. Not the expensive kind Lily expected, but an old sedan that looked like it belonged to someone's grandmother. Borrowed it, Theodore explained. They'll be looking for my usual cars. They climbed in, and he started driving. Lily watched the city slide past her window. The only city she'd ever known. Every street held a memory. The park where she'd learned to swing by herself. The library where a kind librarian used to sneak her extra cookies. The fountain where she made wishes that never came true. She was leaving it all behind. Maybe forever. Are you scared? Theodore asked. Yes, Lily admitted. But I'm always scared. At least now I'm not alone. The drive took 2 hours. They left the city lights behind and headed into the countryside where everything was dark and quiet. Theodore kept checking the rearview mirror, but nobody followed. Finally, he turned down a long gravel driveway that led to a small cabin surrounded by trees. It's not much, he said, but it's secure. Cameras all around the perimeter, alarm system, and nobody knows about this place except my head of security. They went inside. The cabin was cozy, a fireplace, comfortable furniture, a kitchen stocked with food. Lily had never been anywhere so nice that wasn't a store or museum. There's a bedroom upstairs you can use, Theodore said. I'll take the couch. We'll rest tonight, and in the morning I'll have someone I trust bring us a DNA test kit. We should have results in a few days. Lily nodded. She felt exhausted suddenly. The fear and running and impossible revelations had drained every bit of energy from her body. But she had questions. So many questions. Theodore, if I am your daughter, if I am Emma, what happened to my mother? His face went dark. She died 3 days after you were born. The doctors said it was complications from childbirth, but I never believed them. Too many things didn't add up. I think whoever took you might have killed her too. But I could never prove it. I'm sorry, Lily said. Me too. He tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. You should sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Lily climbed the stairs to the bedroom. It had a real bed with a thick comforter and soft pillows. She'd never slept in anything so comfortable. She should have been happy, should have been grateful. But instead, she felt hollow. What if the test proved she wasn't Emma? What if this was all just a mistake and she'd end up back at the group home? What if she let herself hope and then had it ripped away? She was still worrying about it when exhaustion finally dragged her under into uneasy sleep. Lily woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came flooding back. Theodore, the black car, the photograph, the impossible possibility that she might have a father. She climbed out of bed and padded downstairs. Theodore was in the kitchen making breakfast. Pancakes. The smell made her stomach growl. Morning, he said. How'd you sleep? Okay, I guess. Lily sat at the small kitchen table. When will the test kit get here? This afternoon, but first I need to tell you something. I made some calls last night. Did some digging. The poison they used on me, it's military grade. Not something a random person could get their hands on, which means whoever is behind this has serious resources and connections. Does that help us figure out who it is? Maybe. I've made a lot of enemies in business, but only a few would have access to that kind of weapon. I've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities. He slid a plate of pancakes in front of her. But here's the thing. Whoever did this, they're going to realize I didn't die. And when they do, they'll come looking to finish the job. We need to be ready. Lily poured syrup over her pancakes. What about the police? Can't they help? Theodore shook his head. I don't know who I can trust. If someone has enough power to get military-grade poison, they might have people inside the police department. Inside my own company. We're on our own until I can figure out who's behind this. They ate in silence for a while. Lily couldn't help watching Theodore. The way he moved, the way he talked, trying to see herself in him, trying to imagine what it would be like if he really was her father. Can I ask you something? She said finally. Anything. If the test says I'm Emma, what happens then? Do I come live with you? Go to a real school? Have a real bedroom? Theodore set down his fork. Yes, to all of it. If you're my daughter, I want you with me. I want to give you everything you should have had these past 7 years. Everything that was stolen from both of us. Lily's chest felt tight. But what if I'm not good at being rich? What if I don't fit in your world? I'm just a group home kid. I don't know how to act fancy. You're not just anything, Theodore said firmly. You're brave and kind and powerful. You saved my life when you could have walked away. That's worth more than all the money in the world. And as for my world, half of it is fake people pretending to be something they're not. You'd be the most real thing in it. Lily felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. Okay, she whispered. Okay. They spent the morning talking. Theodore told her about his company, about building it from nothing, about the long hours and hard work and people who said he'd fail. Lily told him about the group home, about the nice caretakers and the mean ones, about school and the kids who teased her for not having parents, about the weird thing and how scared she'd been the first time it happened. I wish I'd known, Theodore said. I wish I could have been there to help you understand it. Your mother, she struggled too. Before she learned to control it, other people's emotions would overwhelm her, make her sick. It took years to build up defenses. Is that what my powers are? Emotions? I don't know. Healing is different, but maybe it's connected. Maybe it's all part of the same thing. We'll figure it out together. Together. The word made Lily's heart skip. She'd been alone her whole life, The idea of having someone to figure things out with felt too good to be true. At 3 in the afternoon, a car pulled up the driveway. Theodore tensed immediately, but then relaxed when he saw who got out. A woman in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. "That's Patricia," he explained. "My head of security, the only person I trust completely." Patricia came inside carrying a package. She hugged Theodore and then looked at Lily with frank curiosity. "So this is her?" "This is Lily," Theodore said. "We don't know for sure yet, but you know," Patricia finished. She smiled at Lily. "I've known your father for 15 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you." They did the DNA test right there in the kitchen. Patricia swabbed Lily's cheek and then Theodore's. She sealed them in separate containers and labeled them carefully. "I'll rush this to the lab," she said. "Pay extra for priority processing. We should have results in 48 hours. After she left, Theodore and Lily tried to distract themselves. They played cards, watched movies, made dinner together. But the waiting hung over everything. Lily caught herself touching her cheek where the swab had been. 48 hours until she knew for sure. 48 hours that felt like forever. Night fell, and they were cleaning up the dinner dishes when the lights went out. The whole cabin plunged into darkness. "Breaker probably tripped," Theodore said. But his voice was tense. "Stay here, I'll check it." "No," Lily grabbed his arm. "Don't split up. That's what people always do in scary movies and it never ends well." Theodore smiled despite the situation. "Smart kid. Okay, come with me. Stay close." They moved through the dark cabin using Theodore's phone flashlight. Every shadow seemed threatening. Every creak of the old wood floors sounded like footsteps. They reached the breaker box in the utility room. Theodore opened it and shone the light inside. Then he froze. "That's not tripped," he whispered. "Someone cut the main power line." Lily's hands started tingling, that warning sensation again. "They're here," she breathed. And that's when they heard it. The sound of breaking glass from downstairs. Someone had just come through a window. The hunters had found them. Theodore grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her toward the back of the utility room. His phone flashlight cut wild shadows across the walls as they moved. Downstairs, heavy footsteps creaked across the wooden floors. Multiple sets. At least 3 people, maybe more. They'd come prepared this time. "There's a crawl space," Theodore whispered, barely audible. He pulled aside a metal grate in the floor. "It leads under the cabin and comes out near the tree line. Can you fit through?" Lily looked at the dark hole. Every instinct screamed at her not to go down there, but the footsteps were getting closer, coming up the stairs now. "What about you?" she asked. "I'm too big. I won't fit. But you can. You need to run to the road. Flag down a car. Get help." "I'm not leaving you." "Lily." Theodore gripped her shoulders. His blue eyes were fierce in the dim light. "If you're Emma, if you're my daughter, then you're the most important thing in the world to me. I already lost you once. I won't lose you again. Now go." The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. A beam of light swept down the hallway toward them. "Now!" Theodore pushed her toward the opening. Lily wanted to argue, wanted to refuse. But she heard the desperation in his voice and something in her chest broke open. She dropped into the crawl space. The metal grate scraped back into place above her head. Through the gaps, she saw Theodore stand up. Saw him walk out of the utility room toward the hallway, drawing them away from her. "Looking for me?" she heard him say. "Took you long enough." Then sounds of a scuffle, shouting, something crashing. Lily's hands erupted with golden light, illuminating the crawl space around her. Dirt floor, low ceiling, spider webs, and a clear path leading away into darkness. She wanted to go back, wanted to help Theodore, but he'd told her to run and she understood why. If she got caught, everything he'd done would be for nothing. So Lily crawled. The space was barely big enough for her small body. Dirt got in her mouth and eyes. Something skittered across her hand and she bit back a scream. Behind her, the sounds of fighting faded. She didn't know if that was good or bad. The crawl space seemed to go on forever. Her knees ached. Her hands were scraped raw. But finally she saw it. A gap in the foundation ahead. Moonlight filtering through. She squeezed through the opening and emerged into the cool night air. The tree line was 20 feet away. So close. But the cabin's back door slammed open and a figure stepped out. A man. Tall. Wearing all black. He had a gun. "Found her!" he shouted back toward the cabin. Lily ran. Her legs pumped as fast as they could carry her. The trees got closer. 15 feet. 10. 5. A gunshot cracked the night. The bullet hit a tree trunk inches from Lily's head. Wood splinters exploded. She ducked and kept running. Hit the tree line. Branches whipped her face. Roots tried to trip her. But the golden light still glowed from her hands, lighting her path. She could hear the man behind her, crashing through the underbrush, getting closer. Lily's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. She couldn't keep this pace much longer. And then her foot caught on a root and she went down hard. The impact knocked the wind from her lungs. Stars exploded across her vision. The man's footsteps pounded closer. She tried to get up, but her ankle twisted wrong. Pain shot up her leg. The man burst through the trees, raised his gun, pointed it at her. "Finally," he panted. "Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Should have just let Kingston die like a good little girl." Lily's hands blazed brighter, the healing light. But it had never worked on herself before. Never worked unless she was touching someone else. Still, desperation made her try. She pressed her glowing hands to her twisted ankle. The man laughed. "What are you going to do? Heal yourself to death?" But something was happening. The light intensified, grew hotter. And suddenly it wasn't just flowing into her ankle. It was building up, concentrating, like water behind a dam. The pressure increased. The light got brighter and brighter until Lily couldn't see anything else, until it felt like the sun was burning inside her chest. "What the hell?" the man said. And then the dam broke. Light exploded outward from Lily's body in a blinding wave. It hit the man like a physical force. He flew backward and slammed into a tree. His gun went flying. He slumped to the ground, unconscious. Lily stared at her hands. They were still glowing, but the light was different now. Stronger, more controlled. Her ankle didn't hurt anymore. She could feel power thrumming through her veins. Power she'd never known she had. But there was no time to think about it. She heard more voices, more people coming through the trees. Lily ran again. This time her ankle held. This time she ran faster than she'd ever run before. The power in her veins made everything sharper, clearer. She could see in the dark like it was daylight, could hear the men behind her coordinating their search, could feel their locations like points of heat in the cold night. She ran for what felt like hours, finally broke through the tree line onto a dirt road. In the distance, she saw headlights approaching. A car. Help. Lily stumbled into the middle of the road, waving her arms. The car screeched to a halt. The driver's door opened and Patricia stepped out. "Lily, thank God. Where's Theodore?" "Still at the cabin. They came for us. There were so many of them." Lily's words tumbled over each other. "He made me run, but he was fighting them, and I heard gunshots, and I don't know if he's okay, and we have to go back. We have to help him." Patricia pulled out her phone, started making calls. Lily heard fragments. "Send everyone, now, armed response." But it felt too slow. Every second Theodore was back there alone was a second he might die. "I have to go back," Lily said. "Absolutely not. You're a child. You'll get yourself killed." "I saved him once. I can do it again." Patricia grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. The best thing you can do for Theodore right now is stay alive. That's what he wanted. That's why he helped you escape." Lily knew she was right, knew going back was stupid, but the invisible thread connecting her to Theodore was pulling tight. She could feel him, feel his pain, his fear. He was hurt, maybe dying. The golden light flared in her hands again. "I have to try," Lily whispered. Before Patricia could stop her, Lily turned and ran back into the trees. She followed the connection. That thread only she could feel pulling her back toward the cabin. Her new power made the journey faster, made her stronger. But fear made her clumsy. What if she was too late? What if Theodore was already dead? The cabin came into view through the trees. Dark. Silent. Wrong. Bodies lay scattered across the back lawn. Men in black. some unconscious, some not moving at all. Theodore had fought hard, but was he still fighting? Lily crept closer. The back door hung open. She slipped inside. The cabin was wrecked, furniture overturned, bullet holes in the walls, signs of a serious fight, and blood. So much blood. "Theodore," she called softly. A groan from the living room. Lily ran toward the sound and found him. He was slumped against the wall. Blood soaked his shirt. His face was pale. 3 men in black lay unconscious around him. He'd taken them all down before collapsing. "Lily?" His eyes struggled to focus. "You're supposed to be gone. Supposed to be safe." "I came back." She dropped to her knees beside him. "Where are you hurt?" "Doesn't matter. You need to run. More might come." "I'm not running." Lily pressed her glowing hands to his chest where the blood was worst. The light flowed into him. She could feel the bullet lodged near his ribs. Could feel internal bleeding. Could feel his life slipping away. But this time was different. This time she had more power. More control. The light intensified, found the bullet, pushed it out. It clinked onto the floor. Theodore gasped. The bleeding stopped. Tissue knitted back together. The color returned to his face. Lily felt the drain on her energy but kept going, kept healing, kept pulling him back from the edge. Finally, the light faded. Theodore took a deep breath, then another. He looked down at his chest where the bullet wound had been. Nothing but smooth skin and dried blood. "How did you do that?" he whispered. "I don't know. Something changed. When that man was going to shoot me in the forest, something just clicked, and now I can do more. Feel more." Theodore pulled her into a hug, held her tight. "You saved me again. Twice in 1 week. That has to be some kind of record." Lily hugged him back, felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "I thought you were going to die. I thought I'd lose you before I even knew if you were really my dad." "I'm not going anywhere," Theodore promised. "Not now, not ever." The sound of car engines approaching made them both tense. But then Patricia's voice called out, "Theodore, status." "In here," he called back. "We're okay." Patricia burst through the door with 6 armed security guards. She took in the scene, the unconscious men, the blood. Theodore standing up like he hadn't just been dying 5 minutes ago. "What happened?" "Lily happened," Theodore said. He looked at her with something like awe. "She's stronger than we thought, stronger than anyone could have imagined." Patricia's team secured the attackers, called the police, started processing the scene. Theodore and Lily sat on the porch steps wrapped in blankets while chaos swirled around them. "We got 2 of them awake," Patricia reported. "They're not talking yet, but they will. And Theodore, I found something." She held up a phone taken from one of the attackers. On the screen was a message thread. Orders. Plans. And at the top, the name of the person who'd sent them. Theodore's face went dark. "Victor Hendricks. I should have known." "Who's that?" Lily asked. "My former business partner. We built Kingston Enterprises together, but he wanted to take it in a different direction. Wanted to get into weapons manufacturing, military contracts. I refused. We had a falling out. He left and started his own company. I thought that was the end of it." "Guess not," Patricia said. "If he's behind this, behind everything, then he's the one who took Emma 7 years ago." Theodore's hands clenched into fists. "He's the one who killed my wife, who stole my daughter, who just tried to kill us both." "What do we do?" Lily asked. "We end this," Theodore said. "Once and for all." The next morning they were back at Theodore's main estate. Not the penthouse in the city, but the family mansion outside of it. Walls, gates, security everywhere. Patricia had called in every favor, had the place locked down like a fortress. Lily stood in what Theodore said used to be Emma's nursery. It hadn't been touched in 7 years. The crib still stood in the corner. Toys lined the shelves. Pictures covered the walls. Pictures of a baby with blue eyes. A baby that might be her. "I couldn't bring myself to pack it up," Theodore said from the doorway. "Everyone told me I should, told me I needed to move on. But I kept thinking, what if she comes home? What if she needs her room? Lily touched one of the stuffed animals, a bear with a red ribbon. If the DNA test says I'm not Emma, will you be disappointed? No, Theodore said. Because Emma or not, you're Lily. You're brave and strong, and you saved my life twice. You came back for me when you should have run. That makes you family regardless of what any test says. Before Lily could respond, Patricia rushed in. The lab just called. They expedited the results. They're ready. Theodore and Lily looked at each other. This was it. The moment of truth. They walked together to Theodore's office. Patricia had the results pulled up on her laptop. Her face was unreadable. Well? Theodore asked. Patricia smiled, genuinely smiled. It's a match. Theodore, Lily is Emma. She's your daughter. The world stopped. Lily felt like she was floating. 7 years of wondering. 7 years of being nobody's kid. And suddenly, she was somebody's daughter. She was Emma Kingston. I have a dad, she whispered. Theodore's eyes filled with tears. You have a dad, and I have my daughter back. Finally. He knelt down so they were eye level. Welcome home, Emma. Welcome home. Lily, no Emma, threw her arms around his neck. Let herself cry, let herself hope, let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. But through the window, in the trees beyond the gates, someone watched through binoculars. Victor Hendricks lowered the binoculars and smiled. So the girl is alive, and she has abilities, even better than I hoped. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Change of plans. We're not killing them. We're taking them both. I want Theodore alive, and I want the girl intact. Those powers of hers are worth more than anything I could build. In the mansion, Emma shivered despite the warm room. Her hands tingled with warning. The danger wasn't over. It was just beginning. Emma couldn't sleep that night even though she had her own room now. A real room with a real bed and toys and everything a kid could want. Theodore had told her she could redecorate however she liked, could make it truly hers. But none of that mattered because the tingling in her hands wouldn't stop. The warning sensation had been building all evening, getting stronger, more urgent. Something bad was coming. She knew it in her bones. Around midnight, she gave up trying to sleep and padded downstairs. The mansion was huge. So many rooms. So many hallways. She got lost twice before finding the kitchen. Theodore was already there drinking coffee and staring at security camera feeds on a tablet. Can't sleep either? He asked. Emma shook her head. My hands won't stop tingling. The warning thing. It's getting worse. Theodore's expression darkened. Patricia has 30 guards patrolling the grounds. Motion sensors everywhere. Nothing gets within 100 yards without us knowing. But I feel it too. Like waiting for a storm to hit. He poured Emma a glass of milk and they sat together at the kitchen island. Outside the windows, everything looked peaceful. Moonlight on the lawn, trees swaying gently. Normal. But Emma's power said otherwise. Tell me about Victor, she said. Why does he hate you so much? Theodore sighed. We were friends once, best friends. Built Kingston Enterprises from nothing. But Victor always wanted more. More money. More power. More control. When I refused to let the company make weapons, he said I was weak. Said I was wasting our potential. We fought. He left. Started his own company doing exactly what I wouldn't. But it wasn't enough. He wanted to destroy me. Wanted everything I'd built. So he took me. Took your daughter to hurt you. And killed your mother when she tried to stop him. At least that's what I believe. I could never prove it. He's too careful. Too connected. But now we have his men. We have evidence. The police are building a case. He's going to pay for what he did. Emma took a sip of milk. But he's not going to wait for the police to come get him. He's going to come here, tonight. I can feel it. Theodore started to argue but then stopped. Looked at her seriously. Your instincts saved us at the cabin. If you feel something, I believe you. What do you think we should do? Before Emma could answer, all the lights in the mansion went out. Every single one. Even the backup generators. Theodore grabbed his phone. The screen was dead. Black. EMP, he said grimly. Electromagnetic pulse. Killed all the electronics. No cameras, no alarms. No way to call for help. Emma's hands blazed with golden light, bright enough to illuminate the kitchen. We don't need electronics. We have me. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the mansion. Multiple windows, multiple entry points. They were coming from all sides at once. Stay behind me, Theodore said. He grabbed a heavy cast iron pan from the kitchen. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. They moved through the dark mansion. Emma's light showed the way. Shadows shifted in the other rooms. Moving fast, professional. Victor had sent his best people this time. They reached the main staircase. Patricia appeared from a hallway with 3 guards, all armed, all ready. They've breached perimeter, she reported. At least 20 hostiles, maybe more. They've got military-grade equipment and they're coordinating like a special ops team. We're outgunned. Then we don't fight, Theodore said. We run. Get Emma out of here. That's all that matters. No, Emma said. Everyone looked at her. No more running. I'm tired of being scared. Tired of hiding. Victor wants me because of my powers. So let's show him what I can really do. Emma, you're 7 years old, Theodore protested. I'm not risking you. You're not risking me. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to fight. Emma's light pulsed brighter. Besides, you need me. Without electronics, I'm the only advantage we have. A door crashed open somewhere below. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. They were out of time. Theodore looked at Emma, at his daughter who he'd just found, the daughter who'd already saved his life twice, who was brave and strong and refusing to back down. Okay, he said, but you stay with me. We do this together. Emma smiled. Together. The first attacker came around the corner. Emma thrust her hands forward and golden light shot out like a beam. It hit the man square in the chest. Not healing this time, something else. The light wrapped around him, lifted him off his feet, slammed him into the wall. He crumpled unconscious. Holy hell, Patricia breathed. When did you learn to do that? Just now, Emma admitted. I'm kind of making this up as I go. More attackers poured in. Theodore and Patricia's guards engaged them. Hand-to-hand combat in the dark. Emma provided light and did her best to help. Every time someone got too close, she hit them with that golden energy, knocked them back, knocked them out. It drained her, made her tired. But she kept going. They fought their way through the mansion, taking down attackers, protecting each other. Theodore fought like a man possessed. Patricia moved with military precision. And Emma discovered that her power could do more than heal. It could shield, could push, could even sense where enemies were hiding in the dark. They made it to the main entrance hall. Bodies of unconscious attackers littered the floor behind them. But more kept coming. So many more. The garage, Theodore said. We can get to the cars. Drive out of here. They ran. Emma's legs ached. Her power flickered. She was running out of energy, using too much too fast. They burst into the garage. 6 luxury cars sat waiting. Theodore ran to the nearest one, tried the door. Locked. Tried his phone to unlock it. Still dead from the EMP. Keys, he said. I need keys. They're in the house in my office. I'll get them, Patricia said. No time, Emma said. Because she heard it. The helicopter, coming in fast, landing on the front lawn, and she felt him. Victor Hendricks. His presence was different from the others. Darker. Colder. More dangerous. He's here, she whispered. The garage door exploded inward. Not from explosives, from something else. Emma felt the energy, felt power that wasn't hers. Victor Hendricks walked through the smoke and debris. He was tall, silver hair, expensive suit, and his hands glowed with red light. Hello, Theodore, he said. Miss me? Theodore stepped in front of Emma. Victor, should have known you'd show up personally. Too cowardly to let your men finish the job? Cowardly? Victor laughed. I'm here, aren't I? But I'm not here to kill you. Not anymore. I'm here for her. He pointed at Emma. The girl with the golden light. The girl who can heal, who can fight, who has power she doesn't even understand yet. Do you know what she's worth? What I could do with abilities like that? You're not touching her, Theodore growled. I already did, 7 years ago. I took her from the hospital. I was going to raise her myself, mold her, train her. But my idiot assistant panicked and dumped her at that group home instead. I've been searching for her ever since. And now here she is. Grown. Powerful. Even better than I imagined. Emma felt sick. You killed my mother. She was in the way, Victor said casually. She had abilities too. Empathy, emotional manipulation, useful but limited. I thought the child might inherit something stronger. Turns out I was right. He raised his hand. Red light gathered in his palm. I've got abilities too. Spent millions on experimental treatments to give me what others are born with. Not as elegant as yours, but effective. So here's how this works. You come with me willingly, and I let Theodore live. You fight, and I kill everyone in this mansion. Your choice. Emma's hands blazed brighter. I've got a better choice. You leave right now, and maybe I don't turn you into a human pretzel. Victor smiled. Spirit, I like it. But you're exhausted. I can see it. You've been using your power all night. How much do you have left? Enough to beat me and my 50 men outside? I don't think so. He was right. Emma could barely stand. Her hands shook. The light flickered. But she wasn't giving up, wasn't letting him win. Maybe I can't beat you, she said, but I can buy time. She thrust both hands forward. Golden light erupted. Not a beam this time, a wave, a wall of pure energy. It hit Victor and sent him flying backward through the destroyed garage door. Hit his men outside, knocked them down like bowling pins. But it took everything Emma had left. The light died. Her legs gave out. Theodore caught her before she hit the ground. Emma, stay with me. She tried to answer, but the world was going dark. Fuzzy. Far away. She heard more fighting. Heard Patricia shouting orders, heard sirens in the distance, finally, help. But Victor was getting up. His red light flared, angry now, dangerous. He stalked toward Theodore and Emma. That was stupid. Now I'm going to kill you both and take her body for research. Dead or alive, those abilities are mine. Theodore held Emma close, positioned himself between her and Victor, ready to die protecting his daughter. Emma wanted to help, wanted to do something. But her power was gone. Used up. She had nothing left. Victor raised his hand. Red energy crackled. Theodore closed his eyes. And then the golden light exploded. Not from Emma. From inside her. From somewhere deep. Somewhere she didn't know existed. It erupted outward in a blinding supernova. Bigger than before. Stronger than before. Pure and beautiful and unstoppable. The light filled the garage. Filled the mansion. Spread across the entire estate. Everyone caught in it froze. Victor. His men. Everyone. The red light in Victor's hand sputtered and died. He stared at Emma in shock. Impossible. That much power. You're just a child. I'm Emma Kingston, she said. Her voice echoed with power. And you took everything from me. My mother. My childhood. 7 years of my life. But you don't get to take anything else. The golden light condensed. Focused. Poured into Victor. Not healing. Not hurting. Something else. Something that rewrote. The red light in his hands faded. Disappeared. His enhanced abilities drained away like water down a sink. He fell to his knees. Just a man now. Just a criminal. What did you do to me? He gasped. I took away what you stole. Your artificial powers. Gone. You're normal now. Powerless. Emma swayed. Theodore caught her again. But she smiled. And the police are here. You're done, Victor. It's over. The next few hours were a blur. Police everywhere. Ambulances, news cameras. Victor and his men arrested. Patricia giving statements. Theodore refusing to leave Emma's side. They sat together on the front steps wrapped in blankets while chaos swirled around them. The sun was rising, painting the sky pink and gold. A new day. A new beginning. "You okay?" Theodore asked. "Tired," Emma admitted. "But okay. Is it really over?" "It's really over. Victor's going away for life. Attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. The evidence is overwhelming. He can't hurt us anymore." Emma leaned against him, against her father. "What happens now?" "Now?" Theodore smiled. "Now we figure out how to be a family. I know I'm not good at this yet, being a dad. But I want to learn. Want to give you everything you deserve. A home, a family, a real life. And my powers? What do we do about those? We learn about them together. Figure out what they can do, what they mean. But Emma, your powers don't define you. You're not special because of what you can do. You're special because of who you are. Kind, brave, strong. That's what matters." Emma felt tears slide down her cheeks. Happy tears this time. "I spent my whole life wishing for parents, for someone to want me. And now I have you." "And I have you," Theodore said. "I got my daughter back, my Emma. That's worth more than all the money in the world." Patricia walked over. "Media wants a statement. What should I tell them?" Theodore looked at Emma. "What do you think? Want to tell the world your story?" Emma thought about it. About being Emma Kingston. About having a family, a father, a home. About not being invisible anymore. "Tell them the truth," she said. "A girl saved her father's life. And he saved hers right back. That's all they need to know." Patricia smiled. "Perfect." As she walked away, Theodore stood and offered Emma his hand. "Ready to go home? Real home this time. No more running. No more hiding." Emma took his hand. Let him pull her to her feet. Together they walked toward the waiting car. Father and daughter. Family. She looked back once at the mansion. At the place where everything changed. Where she stopped being just Lily from the group home and became Emma Kingston. Where she found her father. Found herself. Found home. The sun climbed higher. The new day spread across the sky. And Emma smiled. Because for the first time in her life, she knew exactly where she belonged. She belonged here. With him. With family. Finally home. And as they drove away, her hands glowed one more time. Not with warning. Not with power, but with warmth. With happiness. With hope. The golden light of a girl who'd saved a billionaire. Who'd found her father. Who'd discovered that the greatest power wasn't healing or fighting or anything supernatural. The greatest power was love, and family, and belonging. And Emma Kingston had finally found all three.